Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you some things you can do with the event controller you may not have thought of. I think these are a very underutilized block. That's part of the reason I'm making this video. I look online and I see these being used a lot for airlocks and things and automated lights, and some of the advanced cases I've seen people automate sections of their base with them. Like I have a little setup over there I'll kind of show off in a minute. But they have uses, like I only recently realized, like they've been out for over a year and a half and I play this game very frequently. I only recently thought of using it for like subgrid wheels, where I have it tied to the thruster here. If thruster fires, wheels propulsion override. If thruster fire is not true, wheel propulsion override reset. And then it kind of just provides this, like, here, I'll show you. I turn the wheels on the front of the car off for this, but if I push forward, the wheels go forward. If I stop, they stop. Forward, they go forward. If I stop, they stop. Right? And it kind of just helps with like hill climbing or stuff, or even like this is just an example here, but you could even do this if you don't want it on a trailer, but you want like a custom wheel suspension on rotors or hinges. You could do a similar setup here with you just use one of these little thrusters that doesn't consume hardly any power. These things are terrible at being thrusters, but they're so compact, you know. And then you tie it to an event controller, and you can get some subgrid wheels that way. The same thing with subgrid thrusters also. If you want to have like wings on hinges, like you want to have like that tilt, and you want to have the thrusters fire, you just need a one thruster of the same type on the main grid, and then tie if thruster fires, thruster on subgrid fires also. Like the truck doesn't necessarily need to have power on the rear wheels, but it definitely does help if it's full of cargo and you're trying to, you know, pull stuff around. And I try to make rovers as practical as possible since they consume so much less power than everything else anyways, and I think we're getting stuck here. But you can see I kind of have this set up over here. You can do with them also. He's kind of checking this out. And this is really just an example here where I have the refinery. I have well, let me show you. I have stored power if equal or less than 25%. Refinery, whoop, wrong button. Refinery off, or actually here I set it up. I was going to show you guys also. I had it set the refinery off, but then I thought, well, you could probably go a step further with this. And I have a timer block here, and I've labeled it low power mode. And you could use this timer block as like a catalyst to tie a bunch of things to it. So you could have if power drop below 25%, you know, low power mode timer block activates, and then it shuts off your refineries, shuts off assemblers, shuts off jump drives. Jump drives absolutely destroy power. I mean, I've gotten stranded in space on stream before, just because you do a jump and then you have a ship with like 22 jump drives and they all just start charging at the same time. It just goes from like 20 hours to like 6 minutes. This is a really useful use for the event controller. I've seen a lot of people do, and especially if you can't use like base scripts or anything, this is great for console, and it's not very hard to set up. You just have to select your base batteries in here and add them to it with the stored power equal or less than, and then it's pretty simple. Here's another use for the event controllers I have, and probably one of my favorite uses. These ships are in the workshop, by the way. I have the link in my YouTube description for my workshop page. We go in here and we go to the bridge, right up here. And I've toggled them on already. By default, these are toggled off. And then, like, I have an event controller that, let me sit in here, event controller. Why is it not showing? Oh, rookie mistake. Event controller, low fuel warning. If tanks reach threshold of 25%, and it has to be all the tanks have to meet this requirement, which is kind of unfortunate. I kind of wish you could do one for like whole grid, but I don't think there's an option like that. But if tanks reach 25% or less, it toggles this LCD right here on. That gives you the little low fuel warning. And you could even do the same thing with the timer block like earlier and tie this with a sound block. You have a low fuel warning, and then you have like an alert sound that would go off. And I have another one right here that kind of lets you know when one of the main connectors here on the sides of the ship are docked, so you know when you're connected. I have all these event controllers set up so that when I'm in the bridge, I have like my kind of own heads-up display of what's going on in the ship, and it just makes the ship feel more alive in the bridge, in my opinion. You can kind of see a lot about what's going on, and I could probably honestly add some more about like turret status and stuff, but this ship isn't really heavily armed at all, so. But these right here are tied. Each one of these panels is tied to an event controller of its own, and I'll show you that real quick. So if we connect this ship right here, we don't need the thrusters on. So we connected it to landing pad 1. They're labeled. They have numbers on the side of them. So if we go back over here to the bridge, you can see the panel I have tied to connector 1 says connector 1 active. And this way you kind of have, and this ship is kind of built from mistakes I've made. Like, I've had it before where I've taken off and you press P and everything disconnects, and you might not immediately notice that. Like you might hit P, then let's say your ship isn't the correct orientation, like here. Like you hit P and you're docked and your ship's still just sitting on top, not moving. You might not even realize you're undocked, but you'll see that you're not connected on any of these LCD screens, and you'll know you can go out there and fix it before all of your ships fall off. A lot of the event controllers can be used for just kind of making your life easier, and they're not very hard to set up. It's a little time consuming to set one up for each connector and name them and stuff, but it's so worth it. This video is a little different from what I normally do, but I feel like the event controllers are a little neglected. I feel like they have a lot more potential than people typically use them for, and it is cool to use them for simple stuff like doors and things also, but I feel like you could really get into this and get some complex systems going. It might not be necessary on PC, but it's really important to help out our Xbox and PlayStation players also. So hopefully this is at least somewhat useful or gives you guys some ideas. I'm hoping they kind of just put some ideas out there and inspire some people. But I'll see you guys later.